I'm a mess right now. Like, I can't even believe what just happened. Like, I'm so hurt and I'm so angry. And it's always a reminder as to why I'm always cautious of humans. Now I understand why I love dogs so much. Like, I know we all gotta die, but when you die because somebody intentionally meant for that to happen way before you lived your years, it's just crazy. I'm 31 years old, and the way I just lost my dog, I never been through nothing like that in my life ever. This is why I don't like doctors, because I just know that they're not really here to help us. They're here to experience on us and use like situations, diseases, and different things to put in their database or whatever. For one, it's so crazy out here. It's crazy in this world, period. Just the amount of evil that's out here, the amount of people that don't love is overwhelming. Really, not too many people that even do love one another. And that's why I love dogs so much, because one thing about a dog is it's gonna always love you regardless of what. If you're not the best owner, it's gonna love you regardless of if you ignore them and don't play with them. Every time they want to play, they're gonna still love you. They're gonna love you regardless, because at the end of the day, that they have unconditional love. Like, I can't believe this. I can't. Like, 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 things always find some type of way to just attack me somehow. Like, if it can't get to me personally, it's gonna get to things around me that I love. At the end of the day, I know what it's all about, but it don't make it right. It make it a little easier to cope with it. It makes it a little easier to understand. My dog, she was only 1 years old. She had babies in May, and she started losing weight probably about a month after she had the babies. I was thinking that, she had lost the weight because maybe it was just a lot on her because she was young and had got pregnant. That's how I thought. That's what I thought while she was losing weight. But then her stomach started filling up with fluid. And like I said, I never had seen it before. So I was just, like I said, I thought it was just maybe from, for something from having the babies. And then it just started getting worse. Like it just started getting bigger. And then you could see like her whole skeleton, like all her bones. You could see her bones. So I took her to the vet July 29th, I believe. Doctor took some blood work. Nobody ever gave her an X-ray. Nobody ever gave her an ultrasound to see what was going on. The blood work. He showed me her eyes and her ears and said that she had jaundice and that it was a sign of liver failure. So when the vet mentioned that, I'm like, what will cause that, and how do we treat it? When originally I just was there to bring the dog there to get the fluid drained from her. He didn't drain the fluid because he claims that she can go in shock or whatever. And he just prescribed her some warm medicine and some other type of some type of medication that wasn't even for her situation. So when he didn't drain her stomach started getting even bigger. So I'm like, I gotta take her somewhere else, and I gotta get her help. I called this vet, I think it was a Monday, and I was able to get the dog in by Wednesday. And took the dog to the vet, and my whole reason for taking her to the vet was to get the fluid drained from her and to tell me what's the underlying issue so we could treat her for the underlying issue. Instead of draining her for the fluid and treating her for the underlying issue, they ran a whole bunch of other tests that had nothing to do with what I brought her there for in the first place. She already had blood work done, and I already had sent that information. The same test that I already just paid for on the 29th, they already had that information. They had that information electronically, and then they also had that information because I sent them a picture of those same tests that she ran on my dogs. The first set of tests was only $168 when I took it to the other vet. For what they did for her at this vet, they charged $600 up front, and I was like, "Okay, whatever," I paid the $600. I was thinking that, when she come home, her stomach could be drained and we could start getting her better, treating her liver or whatever. I mean, I'm doing research, I'm seeing videos of the process of how it's supposed to be done and, dogs recovering, like, they going on to still live a happy life. So I'm just, just praying, hoping that that's what happened to Voice. But instead, God knows why, like, instead they felt like she didn't deserve to live or something. Why, I don't know. Like the vet was like, "Oh, she's in really bad shape and just prepare for the worst, blah blah blah." But I'm just like I got hope and I got faith or whatever that she'll be okay. But deep down inside, it's not my will, it's the Lord's will. So if God said it was time for her to go, it's time for her to go. I just hate how it happened. Like she didn't get to live, years and then pass away. Like she was only still a puppy basically almost. Like and when I talked to the vet the second day after she had stayed there and I'm just like, can you drink the fluid or whatever, blah blah blah. It didn't make no sense because they kept telling me different things at the front desk, and then when I talked to the doctor, like, nobody was on the same page as to what was going on or what was discussed, and at the end of the day, it was just a bunch of confusion. So I went and got her, I went and got her, and she said she put in a compression wrap on her. There was no compression wrap on her. It was just a towel. It was just a loose towel with some tape around it. That's not a compression wrap. And I'm like, why does she have to have that on? And she was like, there's gonna be some leaking or whatever. I said, okay, how long does she have to wear the wrap? And she like, oh, just until like the next day or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. The dog was leaking clear fluid or whatever it was when she got home, and I'm like, whatever. I'm like, okay, maybe that's just what happens. She didn't have no pain medicine or nothing, like, she didn't have nothing for pain. She was discomfort because she would just, like, sit up. She would just sit up and stuff, like, I just knew she wasn't comfortable, but then she went to sleep. Around, like, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I wake up because of this smell, and I'm like, "What is that smell? It smell crazy." So I try to ignore it, whatever, cause I just, I basically checked over and made sure she was still alive. She was still alive, so I'm like, "Okay, whatever." But I tried to go back to sleep and ignore it, but the next time I smelled it, it just, like, got stronger, and I'm like, "What is that smell?" I get up, and I turn the lights on to see what's going on. The whole pillow was just soaked with whatever fluid it was, whatever chemical the doctor decided to put inside my dog. Like, it was just so stink. Like, it wasn't just from her body, it was from whatever she injected in my dog. I know she killed her. She just felt like she killed her off. Like, basically, that's what she did. She killed her off. So, like, the fluid was just leaking, and I mean, it was just a whole pillow was just soaked with whatever fluid it was that she put on her abdomen. So Imma show y'all how she looked before she went in to get drained and then how they sent her home. My dog still was eating and drinking and everything. She still had hope. She wasn't to the point where she wasn't eating or drinking. So this is how she looked before she had went to the doctors. I don't know if y'all can see it good or not. She still had like weight around her neck and stuff, and you see her belly, all that fluid. When she came home, this is how she looked. She came home, this is how she looked after. Why is doing that? Hold on. Maybe I turn the light down. Okay. I don't know if y'all can see it because it looks super bright or something, but when we woke up, I started moving all the pillows out the room. I didn't know she was in pain. I knew she wasn't gonna make it. And not so much not so much just because of the condition, but because of whatever they did to her at the vet. I knew she was in pain. Her paw, she had this on her paw. Why is it doing that? Hold on. I can't see it. It's crazy how y'all can't see what I'm trying to show y'all right now. Okay, there we go. That's how her paw came back. She was looking like that, her paw. And then her stomach. Look at her stomach. Like, why is her stomach looking like that? First of all, I had to been abusing her or something. She's such a good dog. She was, I was laying with her because at the end of the day, I knew I had to get ready to say goodbye. I already knew. I knew she wasn't gonna make it. She was just, like she was like licking me and putting her paw on me. So like she didn't want me to be sad or whatever. But I was sad because when you take your dog to the vet or when you go to the doctor, you're going to get help. You're not going there to be nobody's experience or a part of their database. Let me show you the fluid that was all over. It's just all the fluid and stuff that was just dripping out of her, and then the pillow was just so can't really hardly see it, but it's just fluid. It was just coming out of her like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't go back to sleep. But the cause of everything that happened was because of Oroy dog food. The reason I'm sure that it was Oroy dog food is because my dogs was eating the dog food since last year, and everybody started like acting kind of lethargic. Like when I think about everything and I think back, like everybody was acting kind of lethargic. Like they would go outside and they wouldn't really play like that. They would just go lay down. I'm like, get up, get off the ground. And then I had just bought another bag. I had bought 2 bags, matter of fact, I bought like 3 weeks ago. And this time when I gave it to them, the puppy started getting sick like 3, 4 weeks. No, like 3, 4 days after eating the dog food. They stopped eating and drinking. Started vomiting, bloody diarrhea. 2 of the puppies passed away. And boy, she had her little issue going on or whatever. The dogs started avoiding the dog food. The older ones started avoiding the dog food. And they always just wanted to eat with me, and I thought they were just being spoiled, but they knew something was wrong with the food. So the food been damaging them, killing them slowly or whatever. But this last batch that they had must have had a high concentration of whatever it is that, could shut down their liver, kidneys, or heart or whatever, shut down their organs. Whatever they had in this last batch was really strong because it killed almost 3 of my dogs. I'll be okay eventually, but right now I'm so upset because why is it so hard for people to do the right things? Why people love evil more than good? Like, but God sees it all. He sees it all. Don't nothing go unmissed. All I can say is be careful what you feed your dogs because those big bags of foods that claim to have all these nutritions could actually be filled with poison. The warfare is real. It's real. It's all a part of a spiritual warfare, even though people don't understand how this would go hand to hand. It is. Because the enemy can't touch me, but he could touch things around me, but he can't destroy me. So if he destroy things around me, he hopes to make me fall into my old ways and drinking and smoking to cope with my emotions. Like that's the goal in the end. To get back to doing what I used to do. But I'm a fighter. I've been fighting my whole life. I've been fighting my whole life to make sure I keep my mind, making sure I love and be kind to people. The battle right now is for the souls, and it's love versus hate. If Satan can get you to hate people, he won. But if you remain in love, those are the ones that endure. My dog name was Voice. Her name was I named her Voice because she quiet. I named her Voice because when I first got her, I was at work. I work at home. I was at work and I got her and she was like dirty and she needed a bath. So I was like, okay, you got to stay in the kennel until I'm able to give you a bath and then you could be around with other dogs. So she was in the cage, she was making a bunch of noise. She didn't want to be in the cage. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna call you Voice because the way she expressed herself, like she didn't mind using her voice. And Voice will forever live through me. And it's a perfect name and it's a perfect collaboration with me because I use my voice. I use my voice to speak truth. So every time I lift my voice, I'll think of Voice. Losing a pet is hard. Losing anybody you love is hard. Your pets is not just animals. Your pets are like kids. And even if you have more than one, your bond is different with each one. Each one has a connection with you in their own ways. I knew Voice was special. Like, I knew she was really special. And that's why I did everything I could to save her because I knew she was special when she was in her own pain. And I was in the bed crying one night about something to myself, though, like nobody really could hear that I was crying. And she knew I was crying. And out of all the dogs, she came and checked on me. She came to lick me and comfort me and stuff, even though she was going through her own stuff. And from that moment on, I knew I had to do everything I could to try to help her. I'd rather try to help her and her pass away than to not have did nothing and she passed away. Voice would have lived. I knew she would have lived because my dog still was eating and drinking. If they would have just treated the liver for what we went in there for in the first place and came up with a plan for the fluid of her stomach, she would have lived. But that's not what happened to her. She was killed. She was robbed of her youth. She wasn't even given a fair chance, basically. It's just so hard for me right now. Like, any type of way you lose your dog is hard. But I'd rather her lived 10, 15 years, died from old age, or something then to had died from food poisoning and then a vet finishing her off. I would rather that. But fortunately we don't get to pick as to when and how death occurs. So I understand. I asked God if it was his will that, she lives. And if it's his will, she doesn't. Either way, I'll accept it. It's not gonna make me not love God no more. It's not gonna make me still serve him. It's not gonna make me feel any way less about God. God is still God. He's still amazing. I still love the Lord with all my heart. So I don't care what come against me. Nothing can ever separate the love I have for God and the love he has for me. Thing that I don't understand why I never be upset with him about it. Because he's the one in charge at the end of the day. Now, if I was to get mad and get bitter and start cursing God, and that would be wrong of me. I'm gonna always love God, whether nobody chooses to believe him or not. I love him, and I know he loves me. People would say something ignorant. Oh, well, if God is real, why would he allow things like that to happen? Like I said, that's not for me to question. Just like other things that happen on this earth is not for us to question. It's for you to still be obedient and do what the Lord says do. Because at the end of the day, we didn't create ourselves. God made us. And I'm just thankful for him giving me the strength that he gives me, because every day I feel like giving up, but I can't. In that case, I would have gave up a long time ago. I can't give up. There's strength in my pain. I'm 31, like I said. This is my first time ever really experiencing like losing a dog that type of way. Any other time I ever lost my dogs, it was because something happened, like, oh, I never kept them until they like got grown, or I was just young and had a puppy, probably sold it, got rid of it, whatever. I never experienced this, and this is one of the worst pains ever in my life. Only because, like I said, if she would have just lived longer, I'm not saying it wouldn't hurt, but it would be more acceptable, because I know dogs gotta die from old as they get age. As I know as dogs get older, they age, and that's normal. But to die at 1 years old from liver failure from dog food is really crazy to me. Like I said, I have to accept everything for what it is. Voices inspired me to lift my voice against the things that is so morally wrong. I mean, I've been speaking, but now my voice finna become a little louder. My voice finna get heard in many nations. My voice gonna be heard in the news. My voice gonna be heard on social media. My voice gonna be heard everywhere. Because I come against all this wickedness. I do not stand with you. I do not agree with you. I'm a righteous woman. My name is Sade. Sade means goddess of justice and fairness. That means I don't take nobody's side, whether it's my family, my friends. When you're wrong, you're wrong. And I speak against it all. My voice getting ready to be heard real loud. Because the battle has just got even more stronger. The battles got even more stronger. And I know the battle. I know what side I'm going to choose to stay on to fight. Because in the end, we going to win. Dog on it. Be careful what you feed your dogs. If you could, start feeding them ground beef, chicken, liver, rice. Mostly any meat for real. I mean, they say you could do raw, but if I was you, I'd cook it. Don't put a bunch of season on it, though. I mean, you can put a little bit, but don't put a bunch of season. Meat, rice, no bones. It won't be that expensive. I know we buy dog food because we think it's cheaper to feed them that. But if you come up with a budget and a plan of how you're gonna prepare food for them that'll last them a week at a time, it won't be that bad. It'll still be about the same amount you probably spend for dog food. But I just wanted to bring awareness to just unethical practices and just save another dog if I could. Don't give your dog no Oroy products. Don't give them nothing, not even the snacks. No canned foods, no dog food, dry food, wet food, nothing. Nothing Oroy. And like I said, if you can afford it, get your dog off of all the dog food that's even allowed to be sold at this point. Because each bag is a risk for one day that being the last time your dog eat and the last time that you see your pet alive. Goodbye.